G'day everyone and welcome back to another Cyclone season, season 2014-2015. This is your first Oz Cyclone Chasers Cyclone video update for Australia, and we hope you enjoy it. A couple of things first to mention is our major sponsor. At the start of all of our broadcasts now, we will be acknowledging our major sponsor, Campbell Scientific, when measurements matter. Looking around Australia and what we can see right now, finally starting to see a little bit of thunderstorm activity. Not too concerned about this stuff down here to the south, that's not really our area, but good to see finally some good thunderstorm activity developing around the Kimberley and also starting to develop around the southwestern top end, and eventually that will extend northwards to Darwin and we'll start to finally see a build-up, which I'm sure a lot of people in the territory that are following us are just wondering when the hell it's going to start. Well, it's going to start next week. That's pretty well the case also for North Queensland, so don't be surprised if we start to see storms popping up all over the place in northern Queensland next week as well. And looking at the storm charts from Brisbane Storm Chasers, the BSCH website, you can see here a spattering of thunderstorm activity across the state in Queensland and possibly across the Northern Territory as well. A little bit more isolated in the Territory. And once again, the North Kimberley firing up here on Sunday. And then as we head into Monday, you can see much more general activity across Queensland. And also right here on the northern tip of the Kimberley, very isolated activity in the top end. And then on Tuesday, I should say, we really start to see a big increase here around the Darwin area and also in the Gulf of Carpentaria with just general isolated thunderstorms all across northern inland Queensland. Fantastic to see for these regions. They have not had any even semblance of a build-up yet, so it's fantastic to see that all this is going to start happening early to mid next week. And you can see here by Wednesday we're looking at severe thunderstorms all across the Darwin area and the top end coast, and we'll talk more about that to our subscribers in the state video updates. And the same thing in Queensland, we're looking at possibly severe activity as well as maybe some thunderstorms getting onto the coast, which is also going to be some very good news for places like Townsville and even places just to the north and just to the south of that which haven't seen a drop of rain for a while. And then we continue to see general shower and storm activity throughout Thursday. So folks, this is really good news for a lot of parts of a lot of northern Australia. Unfortunately, the big losers out of this are the Pilbara and Gascoyne region. Not much expected in that area for a while yet. Don't get lulled into too much of a false sense of security that the build-up's going to be dramatic, though, in northern Australia, because a lot of the guidance, and the Bureau's latest guidance, in fact, suggests that we're going to see a much below average November in terms of rainfall amounts, especially across this inland section of northern Queensland and also along the top end coast of the Territory. There are no surprises there. I think all the locals are aware that it's going to be a bit of a late start, especially since what we've seen in October. And December, we still see fairly negative anomalies, although by that stage Darwin should be back into pretty well neutral territory. But we still see negative anomalies all up and down the Queensland coast, particularly over central and northern Queensland, and still negative anomalies in the inland regions of Queensland. And then also November to January, the entire part of the early wet season, we see a very high proportion of model guidance showing us that we're going to see some very much drier than average conditions in the central parts of Queensland, northern parts of Queensland, possibly the northeastern parts of the Territory, and certainly some parts of inland Queensland and inland Northern Territory as well as the far northern Kimberley here. Even though we're seeing a promising start now to some storms there, we are expecting negative anomalies in terms of rainfall. We're expecting a fairly weak monsoon for the first half of the season. However, we are looking a long way ahead, folks, so there's a lot of change, a lot of potential for change there. All I can tell you is with the guidance that we have available to us at Oz Cyclone Chasers, and obviously the guidance available at the Bureau of Meteorology, all showing exactly the same things. So there's absolutely no differences between what we're thinking or what we're seeing and what the Bureau's seeing. And that's represented here in these maps. It's not going to be a great start to the wet season for most of northern Australia. And it probably doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure that one out based on what's happened in the past 30 days. That in no way, though, folks, means that you're not going to see a scattering of showers and storms throughout the next couple of months. And obviously, inside those storms, yep, absolutely, there'll be places that'll cop well above average rainfall. But in general, we would not expect that to be the case. I guess the most worrying trend of that is the rainfall potential. The chance to see at least 200 millimeters between November, December, and the end of January is very, very low in the central parts of Queensland, anywhere just inland of the coast or anywhere along the Burdekin coastline. That's not very good news at all for a lot of folks in parts of Queensland that are already struggling with drought, and a lot of folks in parts of NT that are already struggling with drought. The data is a lot more welcoming for the northern tip of the territory and the North Kimberley. However, for Queensland, that data is certainly a problem. So the total forecast rainfall, folks, very good news here for the next 4 days, especially around southeastern to central Queensland, just inland of the coast looks like the heaviest rainfall. Also some parts of the North Kimberley starting to see rainfall totals amount to something more significant from those shower and storm activity. Nothing yet over the top end of the territory yet in the next 4 days, and nothing yet over northeastern Queensland yet over the next 4 days. But after that, we do start to see an increase in shower and storm activity across the Gulf country, northern inland parts of Queensland, possibly even through coastal Queensland or coastal northern Queensland. And definitely, look at this, a sight for sore eyes. Look at some of this green colouring up here in the western top end. Finally, the wet, or not the wet, but the build-up is going to hit. And over the next week, this is what we can expect. So you can see widespread areas up here over the northwestern parts of the continent, looking at 25 to 50, possibly a little bit more millimetres, which is fantastic news. And certainly fantastic news for the Gulf country, which has also been suffering a very dry build-up period as well. And also good news here for the southeastern half of Queensland, or southeastern quadrant of Queensland as well. There's no cyclones across Australia to talk about over the next few days. There is a little bit of a disturbance developing in the southern Indian Ocean in the western edge of our region. However, that's expected to move west outside of our region and is thousands of kilometres away from the nearest Australian state or territory. So folks, that's all we've got time for this first one on November the 1st or October the 31st. We got in a little bit early. Remember, if you want to know more information about the build-up period and where those storms are going to be and all that sort of stuff is designed for our subscription service. So if you'd like to become a subscriber, we would very much appreciate your support. It is $34.95 for 12 months and will help us get into more tropical cyclones and will help you stay safe and get a heads up a long time before anyone else in terms of future cyclone activity. Thanks for watching, folks. We'll talk again on Tuesday, the 4th of November.